Hello again, everyone. Todd Michael Putnam from Creative Adventure Tables here, bringing you another adventure table idea. And this is Fortunes on the Frozen Sea. Fortunes on the Frozen Sea. So the adventurers managed to get hold of a pirate map with, of course, an X marks the spot, and they decided to hunt out a privateer ship. And they were going to grab that ship, or not grab it, but hired out that privateer ship, and they paid the captain X number of gold in order to go out there and for 30 days be able to go out hunting and see if they can actually recover the treasure that is marked supposedly on this map. And all of this stuff that you're seeing right now is not all going to be on the map at the same time. Okay, that's not how it's going to work. But this is the ship that they're going to be sailing in. Basically, and of course first they're going to be starting off and they're going to be headed north because the treasure is somewhere located up in the North Sea. And the very first thing that's going to happen is that they're going to have some bad water and stuff, that some of their storage supplies are going to go bad, and it's going to drop a couple of days off of the total amount of time of supplies that they have. So instead of having 30 days, they're only going to have like 24 days or 25 days. So that's going to start cutting into the ship a little bit, into the amount of time that they have. And all of the players are going to have to make a constitution save to see whether or not they themselves get sick drinking from the fouled water from one of the casks. And meanwhile, I'll make a random roll to find out how many of the actual sailors also get sick. And that's going to slow things down a little bit. That's going to slow their journey down a bit before they get rid of those casks and they finally get back into the good water. And then the next thing that will happen, while they're still all feeling sick and recovering, is that's when I'm going to put these guys down. That I got from griffinco.com. These are nice little waves. That's when I put those down and I let them know that the storm has struck up somewhere around midnight when they're sailing along. And the ship is going to be rocking to and fro on the storm quite severely. And as it's rocking to and fro, with a number of the sailors also being sick, the players are going to actually have to go and do some of the important stuff to try and save the ship, which is they're going to have to climb up the masts and try and take down the sails and stuff so that the ship itself doesn't either lose the sails or get blown over by the strong winds. And so they're going to have to make, strength checks and dexterity checks and stuff. And of course, as the ship is rocking to and fro and they're up here, that's going to exaggerate the amount of motion they go when they're up near the top of it versus if they're down at the bottom of it where it's just going a little bit. So they're going to have to make some constitution saves to keep from throwing up and stuff like that. So a bunch of checks, basically, that they're going to have to make so that they can see how many of the sails, all 4 of them, they're going to have to get pulled down and taken up so that the sudden storm that took them up, after midnight doesn't wreck part of the ship. So that's going to be some ability checks that they have to do. They're going to have to decide which of them is going to try and go up there and risk it. There's a chance that they could go flying off and go diving into the water and be dangerous. They could freeze to death or be eaten by sharks. Or they could be rescued, potentially, depending on... But during the middle of a storm, it's going to be way too hard to try and steer the ship to get them back. So they'll be taking their lives into their hands to try and make those checks and save the ship itself. And then after the storm itself happens... they're going to have another epic little problem where these guys here, basically they're sturges, or they're called stingbats in Shadow Dark, the RPG that I'm playing now. But stingbats, if you're playing Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition or any previous editions, basically reskinned as essentially like low-level sea drakes. We're going to call it like that. And after the storm... the players and the sailors are going to be attacked by them on the decks, and they're going to have to fight them off. There's some combat for them, and see if they can fight the stingbats off before they either kill some of the crew members or some of the players potentially. Again, weakening the ship and slowing things down because there may not be as many crew members to man the ship properly, and that could slow their journey, which of course eats more into their supplies for the 30 days that they have in order to get to where they're going and get back. All this the crew is starting to get very unhappy with. One thing after another happening. After these guys get done with them, another day or 2 later, they're going to be attacked by these here, the tentacles. And the monster itself is never going to come up, but it's a fisher of men, is what I call it. And basically the tentacles come shooting up out of the water and randomly will grab. It could randomly grab a pirate. It could randomly grab the captain. It could randomly grab one of the players. I'm just going to roll a d20 basically, and there's 5 players, so a 1 through 5, it's going to randomly grab one of the players. Anything higher, it's going to grab one of the crew members, and then it'll pop them up in their tentacles, and it'll start crushing them. As long as it's got them, it's going to do d4 damage every single round until it potentially kills them. Or if the players make a strength or dexterity check, they might be able to work their way free and fall back down onto the deck. If they stab at them and if they can do enough damage, the creatures, it's highly unlikely you're going to kill the main guy underneath. But if they do enough damage to an individual tentacle, it's almost like a paper cut where the creature just it'll take that tentacle and zip it back down underneath the water, and that one will be defeated. They'll never defeat the entire monster, but if they defeat the tentacles, that'll stop the monster from attacking the ship any further, and the monsters will let the ship pass on. It won't be worth the effort. So they're going to have to fight off the various tentacles and see if they can get rid of it. And they also have to make some, if they can't save some of the sailors or anything like that, then that potentially slows the ship down and makes it harder for it to sail through. So presuming they can survive that's multiple attacks that they've had, one from the stingbat, one from the Fisher of Men. Then, of course, they've had the storm that showed up, which, okay, they expect storms, though. The bad water. At that point, the crew is going to start getting pretty upset, and there's going to be a potential mutiny, and the characters are going to have to role play talking the sailors out of turning the ship around and going back and say, because they're going to say it's not worth it. This is too dangerous. I don't care how much money gold is on the other end of this. And the players are going to have to role play. It's not going to be just a simple, roll a charisma check or anything. Players are actually going to have to role play with me playing the captain and the crew, and see if they can convince them to keep going, why they should continue to risk their lives, potentially bargaining more of the treasure away in order to make it worth their time. In that case, once they are able to do that, though, eventually, as they get into the northern waters, that's when they're going to start seeing icebergs and stuff floating around in the waters, and they will come across this right here, which is looks like a shipwreck of some kind, and it's right where it's marked on the map for where the treasure is buried on what was called Wooden Island. And of course, it's not an actual island. It's probably what they're talking about is just a pseudonym, basically, for this here, wrecked ship on the iceberg. So the heroes will have to get into said rowboat, and they will have to, because you can only get so close with the big ship, and they're going to have to transverse their way across the water, which is going to be filled with some nasty sharks and whatnot, very dangerous. They're going to have to make a couple of rolls to make sure that the boat itself doesn't get knocked around too much or anybody falls off. But not likely that it could happen, but it's a possibility. And after a few attempts, they will get to this side over here, and then they will be on the deck where they will see some of the bodies. Now, when this occurs, it will occur at midnight. It'll occur again when they finally see it. They'll see it basically by the light of the moon, so there's very, very little light going on. They'll have to bring lanterns with them to do that. If that's a thing in Shadow Dark, that game, you've got 1 hour of time, so I've got like a little lantern that I use over here that I turn on, and then I mark the time for 1 hour to let them know that the lantern has been lit. They get on board here anyways, and there'll be bodies and stuff everywhere, and as they go exploring, looking for the treasure, the bodies will spring up, and they are zombies. And the players will have to fight off the zombies. And zombies, of course, unlike other creatures, they're not going to retreat. They're never going to give up. They're going to have to either fight to the death and destroy the zombies, or they're going to have to get back on their little ship and their rowboat and sail back across and say that it's not worth it being so close to potentially where the treasure is. If they are able to defeat the zombies, they'll go down below deck, where they will see, in fact, that there is several treasure chests. Unfortunately, there could potentially be swarms of rats and stuff that are there, starving rats that will attack maddeningly. The rats in Shadow Dark don't do a whole lot of physical damage directly. They only do 1 hit point of damage, but they do constitution damage, and they'll give you a disease if you don't make their constitution check, and that disease is going to cost you 1 to 4 constitution points every single day until you either make your check once per day and survive the disease and throw it off and eventually go back to being healed, or if you get down to 0 constitution, you could in fact die. So it's unlikely that the rats will literally bite you to death immediately, but it's very possible that the one or more of the party members could be inflicted with the disease, and once they defeat the rats, if they're infected with it, they could be growing weaker and weaker each day once they have contracted that disease. So they'll get back in their boats and they'll head back over to their main ship to start heading home. But unfortunately for them, where that treasure map was actually found, the pirate who they stole it from realized that it was gone, and so he's patrolling the area. And within a day or two, that pirate ship catches up with them, and the Black Ice will show up with a very live pirate crew and their black-sailed ship, and they will head off against the character's privateer ship, and they will have ship-to-ship battles where planks will get thrown across. The two ships will be put side by side. There'll be planks. And then, of course, pirates will be swinging across onto the deck and whatnot, and they will basically attempt to attack the characters and try and steal their treasure back, and of course take prisoners and or kill people, etc., so on and so forth. Ironically, the undead that were here were actually left there by the pirates themselves. They were. If the players were to hoist the black flag with the skull bones and stuff, showing that they skull and bones, showing that they were pirates, then the zombies would not attack them, because when they were created, they were basically told to attack anyone that was not sailing underneath the black. So if the players happen to have a pirate flag on them and come across here, then they wouldn't actually have to fight the zombies. But they, of course, didn't know that at the time when they came across. But that's how the zombies are basically acting as guards for the pirates' treasure, with the pirates being 100% sure that, of course, the zombies will not actually steal the treasure for themselves. So, but in the meantime, the pirates here, once they've caught up with the players in their main ship, the last part of the adventure would be a nice big swashbuckling battle. And of course, you're going to have battle happening across the top here and in the various levels of the deck itself, swinging back and forth across. Of course, there'll be some sharks swimming around, so if anyone who falls into the water, that's going to be quite deadly. And that, if they can do enough damage to the pirates, if they can kill enough of them, then the pirates will likely retreat. They're probably not going to fight to death. They could, but they're probably not going to fight to the death. If they can fight them off, then the players can abscond with the remainder of the treasure back to their base. And in Shadowdark, at least, treasure XP is based directly on treasure. If you're playing 5th edition, then of course you can always use it for as you're killing the monsters and NPCs, etc., and so on and so forth. You get your XP. But for Shadowdark, once the players have taken the treasure and made it back to port, then that's when they'll get their XP, hopefully enough to bring them. In my campaign, they're level 2, so if they'll get enough, hopefully they can level them up to level 3. That's it. That is the Frozen Fortune, if you will. Or the Fortune on the Frozen Sea. So hope you like this content. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy this content and you want to see more. Please check out my other videos. I think I'm closing in on close to 200 videos now. So there's lots of content here for you to check out. And subscribing costs you nothing, and it's a really big help to the channel. So thank you so much. And I will see you guys again next adventure. Take care. Bye.